Hey there, everybody. I am Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am a certified tarot reader. I'm also a former newspaper journalist, and I am an ordained priestess in both African and pagan traditions. So I kind of mix it up a little bit, and I come and I do mostly political readings. I do also personal growth readings. I do new moon and full moon readings, pick a card readings, that sort of thing. So I mix it up a little bit, try to make my offerings, diverse. To deliberately use that term right about now, right? But today, you all, I want to talk to you a little bit about some things that happened over the weekend. Saturday was quite an interesting day. We had I'll do F45 today. I mix it up depending on where my spirit leads me. So today I'm sticking with 45. Sure enough, we heard about all the warnings of the tariffs approaching. And sure enough, we know what's happened by now with Mexico and Canada. We have a pretty good idea about what some of that blowback is going to be. And we are very, very clear on the fact that it is the American people who are ultimately going to pay for all of this, right? But here's the thing. And here's where I'm going with the reading today, you all. Retribution can be a double-edged sword. And so much of what we are seeing is these promises of retribution by F45 coming to light based on, no mistake, Project 2025 and the edicts that were outlined in Project 2025. The key is going to be getting the people. I am getting more and more guidance, and I'd be interested to hear from you all. We're seeing, the GOP congressional leaders. Dems don't have the numbers. GOP is basically laying down, and they have become F45s. Starts with a B and it rhymes with itch. All right, I'll put it like that, right? Not standing up to him. I would not be surprised at all if we see Tulsi and Patel get confirmed. If it were not going that way, I think we'd see more indications along those lines already. So just, steel ourselves for that one. If Hexeth can get through, woo, there we go. Down the hill we go. All right, here's the thing. All of these roads are leading not just to F45, but they're leading back to Muskrat. We'll call him Muskrat today. Muskrat is not liked at all. He wasn't liked to begin with, but people step back because he is like this with F45. We see all that playing out. But my spirit got pinged when one of the top officers or agents, I should say, out of New York, what's his name? James Dennehy? Pay attention to that name. James Dennehy said it's time to dig in. He heads the FBI field office out of New York. I think it is one of the largest, if not the largest, field office for the FBI. Now, he's not under threat. His job is not under threat, but based on everything that's happening right now, he has come out and said it's time for us to dig in. This is not right. We have there's a society or some sort of, I can't remember the exact name, but there is an organization of retired federal FBI agents. They have their association that are up in alarm. Like, they are like, this is so beyond reality. This is so beyond what is legal. I see lawsuits coming for Muskrat, because while we know F45 is protected, they can go as far as they want, but they get it to the Supreme Court. You got Roberts, you got Alito, you got Thomas, you got et cetera, right? You got them pretty much sewn up with, not even because they necessarily like and want to protect F45, but because of this Christian nationalist situation. And that is what got Project 2025 so far, because of its leanings towards Christian nationalism. That's where the MAGA base tied in and said, okay, maybe we're squirming at some of this, but you put Jesus in the mix and we're going to go along with it, right? Muskrat does not fit into that equation. He does not fit into, ooh, what's popping out at me? Gemini. I'm seeing F45. Gemini's popping out. And that's his sign for those who may not know. So you all, Muskrat has made serious enemies of those many agents across the nation with the FBI. That, talk about retribution. Don't know how they're going to do it. But this is an organization you do not want to mess with. These are, this guy, Dennehy, if just as one example, was a career Marine, right? The training that they have, etc. These are people who understand how the government works. They understand the classification, true classification of documents, and what is classified and how to become classified. Muskrat meets none of those qualifications. He is not elected. We know the deal. We know the deal with him. They're coming. They're coming for him. He has crossed some lines that, money aside, I'm ready to go in now. Spirit, please show me. What is going to be the outfall or the response toward Muskrat? Air, it's in conversation. It's already in motion. He is about to, and judgment. Thank you, Spirit. Spirit is not here to play today. Judgment, ruled by Pluto, indicates an awakening, indicates where there is divine intervention, where the spirit realm literally pings people's consciousness enough to say, what in the hell have we unleashed? And again, for right now, I'm getting guidance that F45 still has a certain level of, well, a great deal, let's put it that way, a great deal of loyalty based on fear from congressional leaders, and ignorance, sad to say, from much of his base. That filter is not completely coming off, although those tariffs, we'll get to that in a minute, those tariffs, and when that really starts hitting the pocketbook, oh yeah. All right, Spirit, what else would you like to show me around potential lawsuits against Muskrat? The Magician. You know, because see, when you piss off people like the FBI, those and as Dennehy was saying, these people that have been targeted and that are being shoved out, they're warriors. The magician can use what is at its disposal, the resources at its disposal, without necessarily showing its hand. I'm telling you, this man. So this feels like, between judgment and the magician, this feels like there will be things that, of course, we're not going to see it. We're not going to hear it on the news. It's not even, we won't know until it's done. We won't know until it is done. Is this going into the courts regarding him? The sun, people's lives. And I also feel like this is a timing element, like towards the summer months. People's lives, people's quality of life, and the truth comes out. I think there's something that's going to be revealed about him. I'm not getting a strong confirmation, so I'm going to back up a little bit from actual lawsuits. Maybe ultimately it'll go in that direction. But in the meantime, between that judgment, the magician, and now we have the sun and comes with the truth, there's that awakening. That truth goes back to judgment and this awakening that people broadly, all political parties aside, like the left, the right, in between, everybody's seeing nobody elected or voted for Muskrat. But Muskrat is the one who is pulling all of F45 strings. Think about it, you all. We have that fork in the road memo. straight out of the language of that with the federal workers, directed to federal workers, straight out of X and what was done to X or Twitter, formerly Twitter employees, right? We've got this threat to dismantle and completely destroy the U.S. aid organization, right? Who's talking about Muskrat? We have this U.S. Treasury kind of sort of takeover, right? Although, from what I understand, when he bullied his way in there, that he was only given, his agents were only given quote unquote read only access to files, so not actual ability to manipulate files. But come on. Okay, so there's that. And then finally we have the tariffs, and I want to look at that as well, because that's the truth. And the truth is the person who so many people put their trust in and voted for, despite the criminal conviction, everything that made none of it make sense, right? But this is a truth that will rock them, because ultimately they don't like him. He's an oligarch. Muskrat is a foreign born, naturalized, or got citizenship here, but he's South African. He's not one of them. And neither, for that matter, is F-45. We all know that. But he's enough of a salesman that he knew how to talk that talk just long enough to sway them, right? Truth's coming out. And I think the FBI's role in that, because they know how to get to this guy. And it ain't going to be about his money, and it ain't going to be what his money can do to wiggle his way out of it or to buy any of them off. Because at this point, her word I heard was retribution works both ways. And at this point, based on what he's doing, you're going to have a lot of FBI agents, past, present, after him, in terms of what, no. You will not do this to us. There's a warrior mentality. There's a strength. There's a when he said dig in, there's a looking out for our own. It is military in its own way. They're coming. They're coming for him. All right, and I got the air element back again. It's in motion. There is movement. And the moon. This is interesting. You saw me shuffle. I got the air element back again, Gemini back again. We know who we're looking at there. And then we have the moon. Very worried. He's going F-45. Even though he can't, he doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to logistically think, here's what I need to do. Doesn't have an original thought in his head. So far, all of these moves that have been made with the tariffs, with the Treasury, with federal workers, all of this stuff is coming down from Muskrat, not him. All right, you all, tariffs. I want to look and ask, I feel like we all know the answer to this, but still, the impact of the tariffs serves they're telling me two things, and we know this. This is some has been written about and spoken about already. One is it diminishes respect and power for the United States in the EU and global leaders, but they also understand. They're very aware, and I will say this. The guidance that I'm getting is the world stage is very aware of who is doing this, and that it is not reflective of the American people as a society, as a culture, as an America, USA as a continent. They're very aware that this is not all of us. At the same time, it's not all of us that they have to deal with. It's this that they have to deal with. So that's what makes it tough. The tariffs. The middle way, the line between opposite extremes, he's going to have to back down off of that, you all. I don't know when. I'm not getting a sense of the timing, but this is going to be regrettable. The stock markets are already showing. They've already dipped drastically from what I understand, and that's not going to stop. the price gouging and rising prices that the American people are going to be faced with, the potential for, as Trudeau pointed out of Canada, the factories, U.S. factories potentially closing, farms being irreparably or perhaps irreparably harmed, right, because of the continued deportation situation. So he's gonna have to back down, or he'll make it look like he's not backing down, but there will have to be some negotiation there. These extremes cannot go on. We have the high priestess. I feel like I want to clarify that. We have the high priestess with stay focused and remember why you started. I think that's a message from Spirit to we the people, and that is there are things that are already in motion that, because of, especially too how the media has been targeted, right, that we may not see right away covered. We will have to dig harder. That's the stay focused. We're going to have to dig harder for accurate news, for those who are somehow, some way able to get in touch with what's really happening and then alert the public. It may not be through the legacy media. In fact, it's going to be less and less through the legacy media because they're being shut out, and they're also under their own edicts from higher ups. But the high priestess says, again, that part that we got before where the truth comes out and judgment, the high priestess brings to light. The high priestess knows what is unknown and then reveals it when that time is right. Stay focused. Remember why you started. That is a message to those who are still trying to defend and uphold democracy. All right, you all? So bottom line is those tariffs are going to... I can't get a sense of timing, but they're going to go so far. And when the impact starts to hit, that's when things are going to catch fire. And he's going to have to do some backtracking. There's going to have to be some negotiations, and there will be some shifts. This bullying of Panama, Rubio going to Panama and saying, unless you do this with China, we're coming for you. Not going to fly. It's not going to fly. The international community is going to just go into overdrive. There will be, I'm getting that there will be other countries that come to the aid of Panama. I'm not saying to the extent of necessarily going to war, but this idea that the U.S. can just simply bully its way in. Put it this way, they just said to me, Panama is not the GOP in Congress. All right? Two different things. Panama is not F-45's B that rhymes with itch. Not happening. And the other parts of the world that do trade through the canal are not going to sit idly by and just let the U.S. have its way. And if there is military intervention or the threat of military intervention, I think we're going to see some resistance within our own ranks for that. It's going to be really interesting. He's going to discover, F-45 is going to discover that his power, as quickly as he seems to have forcefully used his power in these last couple of weeks, and I think it's going to go on for a couple of more months. March is going to be a really interesting month when it's time to deal with the budget. Keep our eyes open for that, and of course I'll do more readings. But it's going to start to crack. They're literally showing me cracks and frays in his fraying at the edges of his power. All right, you all. Other thing that happened Saturday, really important. DNC elected its new head. And interestingly, Ken Martin did win over Ben Wickler. Ben Wickler was the one who many thought was a shoo-in, basically because of his ties to the establishment. Sadly and disappointingly for me, at the last minute, Hakeem Jeffries came out in favor of Wickler, as did Schumer. Pelosi. Tells you everything you need to know right there, right? So you have the establishment that was pushing Wickler, and then you have this Ken Martin out of Minnesota, head of the the Farmer Labor Party. So he's really come out. I saw his speech, part of his acceptance speech came out very forcefully and said, "Listen, I'll go low. You know, like, you want to fight? I'll fight. I'll go low if that's what it takes in order to position our candidates to be able to go high. That's what he said. The other interesting thing, and I talked about him in a few videos ago, is David Hogg, a Gen Xer and out of Florida, who was one of the Parkland shooting survivors. He did make it in. There are 3 vice chairs of the DNC, and he did make it in. He is one of them. So the Gen X factor is now in the House, right? And we'll see what Ken Martin does. I mean, there are those who are saying Ken Martin is also part of the establishment, but he seems like he's a different voice in the establishment. I want to ask Spirit and go and see if we're going to see some different messaging and coalescing now around the DNC. You know, I don't know how you feel, like getting all these friggin' emails, can you give us donate. Like, no, not until you start telling me something else. Here comes judgment again, and there's the emperor right behind it, and the world. I have to take it if it's and unparalleled. Woo, okay. Unparalleled. Without equal. Let's see how it plays out, you all, but I think Ken Martin is being genuine in saying we need to really radically shift our focus and our voice as a party in order to speak to the working class and debunk this myth that the Democratic Party is the party of what many call the coastal elites, all up and down, you know, the California coast, all up and down the Northeast coast, you know, New York, etc. The liberal, educated, established elites. We have the world. This is a shift, a change, an end, unparalleled, an end of an era within the Democratic Party. So business as usual, the party just spewing its same old America. You know, do you believe in America? Do you believe in freedom? Sure, we all do, but that is not the messaging that people in, you know, everyday people, young people, Latino people, like that broad spectrum that bought into the idea, I'll lower your taxes, I'll make sure your tips aren't taxed, right? All of that BS that they bought into, but how do you deliver that message in a way that then you will deliver on what the message says? That's what we're going to see from the Democratic Party. And then we have the emperor and judgment. This is the leadership within the party, emperor, and being a visionary. And we have judgment, recognizing that there has been a radical awakening. Judgment ruled again by Pluto, deeply transformational. That gut punch that the Democratic Party has taken, there is going to be an effort. Now, how far it can echo out within the states, because that's another thing. Ken Martin answered the call in terms of saying, look, one of the mistakes that the DNC made is they ignored, there was so much focus on just the swing states that all the other states and all the other candidates around, you know, that's why there was no reason for the Democrats not to gain seats within the House, especially the House and Senate for that matter. There was no reason, but lack of funding. Libra, we're going to hear more from Kamala Harris within this as well. Single and have no fear. This is not just Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris because of she's a Libra, of course, but Libra also representing justice and representing the scales of justice and balance. There's going to be a rebalancing here. Have no fear. I feel like that's another message from Spirit to us in this reading, saying we're going to get back on track. There will be a rebalancing and a reconfiguration. And I think the single is saying there's, think about that as a concept. When you are single, you are free to do as you choose. You are free to develop your own ideas. There's something here where the Democratic Party is being pulled to become not a different entity. It is what it is, but different in sense. And here comes the Tower. Thank you, Spirit. Single meaning single-minded. Remember we got that card about staying focused. Single-minded. And being willing to stand out, being willing to be separate, being willing to say, no, this isn't your grandmama's Democratic Party any longer. This is a party that has undergone a radical shift and a radical remaking. The tower, really beaten up, really, really everything just sort of crumbled before our eyes. And once again, in a way that just simply made no sense. How on earth did people manage to actually go for this guy? And I know, again, and let me acknowledge, there are so many people who said, well, we know that it was stolen, it was fraudulent, that the voting machines in many places were fixed. Not arguing with any of that. But that, the truth of that, and maybe that's part of the truth that we saw earlier coming out as well regarding Muskrat, because he got on stage and said Muskrat knew how to work the machines. FBI knows how to do what they do. Interesting. Very, very interesting, you all. All right. I want to close out this reading. I have been starting to work with this deck, The Art of War, in my political readings, especially that I do for myself, The Art of War. And I want to leave you all with a message from Sun Tzu. And I may not be saying that properly. Forgive me if I'm not. But that is, one of the classic texts and teachings on strategy around war. And, not taking that literally. But how do you deal with an opponent? How do you outlast an opponent? So I want to close this reading out with a message from that deck. Spirit, what is your message from The Art of War? What will help people during this time? What will help people during this time? What do they need to be mindful of during this time? It says, get your timing right. Timing is critical in war, in business, in sport, and in our relationships with other people. Deciding on your strategy or your plan is essential, but it's only as good as it is appropriate for the situation. Don't rush in like a bull in a china shop. Wait, and when the timing is right, don't hesitate. From the book, a quote itself from the book, it has that's what I just read to you on the back. And the quote from the book says, the quality of decision is like the well-timed swoop of a falcon, which enables it to strike and destroy its victim. Timing. Get your timing right. Thank you, Spirit. That ties in really well to the cards that we got, the other cards that we got today, you all, because this is a timing issue. And I know so many of us, we just want it to stop. We just want justice to swoop in, spirit to swoop in, divine intervention, somebody to come in and help us and not allow this to happen. And I just think, especially even they reminded me of that High Priestess card that we got. There is in the spirit realm, there are things taking shape. But remember, and there is a belief in spiritual communities that everything that exists in our reality first existed or took shape in some form in the spirit realm. So that's what's happening. There are dynamics that are occurring. And it is going to be about timing. And for those who are going to get this truth out, who are going to resist, who are going to help preserve our democracy, it is a question of timing, being like that falcon, so that when it strikes, when those talons come out and it strikes, it's a done deal. All right, you all? I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you probably middle of the week, okay? Take really good care of yourselves. Remember to breathe. Remember to keep your chin up and keep your shoulders back. And know that we are going to get through this, all right? It ain't going to tickle. It ain't tickling already. And it's probably going to pinch a little bit. But we're going to get through it, all right? I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.